very excited to be in this special Asia CEOs forum. We've always held Asia CEOs as a very premium organization. We feel privileged to be a part of it. As Richard, you mentioned earlier, Concentrix now is the largest private sector employer in the Philippines. We are playing between 90,000 to 100,000 people in the region. It is the largest region for us, very strategic. And the reason we find the region very strategic is for 2-3 big reasons. The first big reason is our ability to get the right talent. The right age, the median age of the country is just about perfect for the BPO industry. And I think that's why we've such significant growth of the industry here. The second big reason is in the region is to be so close to the Western culture. I think the Filipino population in general is very adaptive and very accommodative, as well as very quick to understand the different cultures. And that's been helping us a lot in driving a lot of success in the region. And the third, I think the most obvious reason is creating a great service for the world. I think the Filipino hospitality and the Filipino focus on delivering a great service is world renowned. And I think that's the key aspect which has been driving us to make significant investments in the region. Very pleased to be part of the organization, which if we go back about 7-8 years ago was less than 10,000 people, and today has grown almost 10-fold to become a 100,000 people organization. So very proud to be a part of this journey within the Philippine space. In the past few years, we've taken some significant steps. If I go back and look at the journey of the last 2-3 years, I think the first significant step that we took was the Convergys acquisition. It was a very large acquisition for us because if I go back about 3.5 years when we did the acquisition, we were in the Philippines half the size of what Convergys was at that time from a legacy Concentrix perspective. So it was a little bit of a tale of a reverse integration, so to say. But I think the teams came about extremely well together, created a lot of synergy, and also paved a great path for growth. Because when we look at the two organizations coming together at that time, we were about 75,000 people. And from 75,000 people, we very quickly grew about 25-30% in the last 2-3 years. So very solid growth and a lot of synergy and efficiency being created with two large organizations coming together, with Convergys' maturity of processes and in Concentrix' entrepreneurial approach. I think it was a great marriage of two great brands, and from there on, it took off very well for us. Last year has been challenging, as it has been for a lot of our peers as well in the industry. The pandemic did throw us a little bit off track from some of our plans. I mean, we got into 2020 thinking very differently of what we will do, and we ended up doing very different things through the year. But I'm very proud to say that in spite of all the challenges, I think we did the right thing for our staff and for our clients. From a place in March 2020 where our business almost got to a standstill when the lockdown was implemented by the local government, to a point where very happy to report that we have completely recovered the business and we are now back on a growth trajectory. So that's a very positive step. It also gives me a lot of pride to say that some of the steps that we took during that time, be it being the first one to come into the market to say that we will take care of vaccinating every employee that we have who willingly wants to get inoculated, I think was a big statement. And I'm proud that we paved the way for the industry by being the first one to say that. And when we did say it, we did not even know what is it that it's exactly going to cost us. How do we get the money for it? But really what was important for us at that time was to say the right thing. And we knew that if we say the right thing and do the right thing, we will end up finding a way to make it happen. So very proud to really have made that commitment and now following through on it with some of the deals that we've signed recently. The recent one that we signed with AstraZeneca and the Philippines government, where we are getting 50,000 doses for our staff and 50,000 doses for the local Filipino frontliners, which we will donate to the government. I think was the first step, and now we're in the process of getting more doses so that everybody who's willingly wanting to take a shot does get a shot free of cost from the organization. So I think that's a big step. The other big initiative that I want to talk about is that as we now slowly return to office, because majority of our people started working from home as we set the entire infrastructure up for that. But as we slowly return to office, because at some point of time we foresee that maybe we'll never return 100% back to office, but we will get some people back to office. And we're now beginning to see that. One of the big issues that our staff was reporting constantly was lack of public transportation. And that was a big issue where people were saying that, because of social distancing measures and because in general, the public transportation is lacking, there was a big ask that how can we solve the issue? And we tried multiple ways in which we could solve it. And frankly, we did struggle a little. I mean, we started with paying people allowances. It to a certain degree helped, but still the public transport was just not available to the level. So even if you pay people, how do they come to the office? And very pleased to say that last month, what we did was we launched our own dedicated transportation system in Metro Manila and all across the regional sites as well, where we have Concentrix branded buses, which fly. So we've started the pilot with 55 buses in Manila. These are completely branded Concentrix buses. They have Wi-Fi, they have aircon. Some of them also have built-in toilets on the bus. And all you need to do is that if you're a Concentrix staff, you just show your ID and you can just ride the bus. You can come to office, and these buses fly from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the night. First of its kind, very different. Something which we are experimenting with. We did this because of lack of public transportation, but if the staff does feel value in it, I think we'll just keep running it forever in the Philippines. And I think that's something which is very, very differentiated. And I think we've been able to do it because of our scale, because we've got almost 50,000-60,000 people working in Metro Manila, about 40,000 working in the regional sites. So the initiative did make sense. And I think people are beginning to realize the value as they're using the service. And if this does make sense, we are willing to grow this further as well and provide more service to people in terms of their ability to come to office. Okay. The other thing that I would like to talk about is in this entire pandemic, what we were focused on is not just the recovery of the business, but making sure how we make a difference for the communities. What we did when we were at the height of the pandemic was that we were seeing tons and tons of displaced workers, people who were losing their jobs. And thankfully, because BPO industry was able to move very quickly to work at home with a lot of changes that we did, we were still, I would say, the lucky ones as an industry, because a lot of the industry moved to work at home, which meant people could keep their employment even in the lockdown, because they were not coming out of their house and breaking any rules of curfew or a lockdown. But unfortunately, a lot of our other industries within the region were not that lucky. We look at hospitality industry, which came to a complete standstill, lost a lot of jobs. And when we realized it, what we did was we reached out to the Department of Tourism. And what we did was, in conjunction with the Department of Tourism, we came up with a joint initiative where we said that we will first give preference to the displaced workers of other industries, rather than just going out and hiring and poaching from other BPO industries, so to say, because it is easy for us to get talent from our industry peers, because we need to not train them too much. They already know the business to a certain degree. But really, is that the right thing to do? Because they already have a job, they already are working, they have a livelihood. How do we make a difference in the community where even if we have to put some more investments up front, but we create employment opportunities for people who are displaced? And that's something that we did last year quite aggressively, where we created that partnership with Department of Tourism. And we did these virtual job fairs only focused on displaced workers. We would have done probably 40, 50 such job fairs, going into the specific regions, working with the LGUs, making sure that we put the extra investments, because a lot of these people were used to working in a different industry. For them, BPO industry was very different. So we put in a lot of investment to make sure that they get trained well. Even before they joined us, we actually set up training aids for them even before they were joining us. And even when they joined us, we actually did a lot of training for them so that we made them job ready for the BPO industry. Some of them did not even come and join us and started doing something else. But at least we took pride in creating that learning environment for them by making those investments, where a lot of those displaced workers were able to find something for them in that tough time. Some of them have gone back to their base industries as the tourism sector is opening up. But even for the 2, 3, 4 months that we provided them employment in last year, I think created a big difference in the communities. And I think it also created a great value add for us, because we got a lot of diverse talent with them coming in. Usually, you look at a specific way when you've been part of the industry for a long time. I look at myself, the same industry, 21 years. So probably I've gotten used to a specific way of looking at things. But when we got people from these displaced sectors, we saw a lot of diversity of thought coming in. We saw a lot of focus coming in on, how do you take care of customers? Because when you're in a hospitality sector, when you're in a hotel or a restaurant, you're taking care of your customers day in and day out who are sitting in front of you. So you know how to handle and take pressure. So good learnings that we also got when we got a lot of these leaders coming in, or a lot of these frontline staff coming in from different sectors to come and join us. So I think it became a good win-win, and I think a great experiment. I would really urge the industry to, because we still have quite a bit of displaced workers and impacted industries. We still aren't recovered 100%. So wherever we could, we should be going out and making investments for these industries to create a difference in the communities that we operate in. As we look at the future now, going into 2021 and beyond, I think the industry will have to evolve, because 2020 was a very defining year. With the pandemic coming in, it was a defining year. A lot of us moved to working at home. We accepted the new normal. But the reality is that a lot of that was done in a knee-jerk environment. It was done to quickly react to a situation rather than a more planned approach to how we want to evolve. I think beyond 2021, we have to do a lot of evolution. We have to make sure that we are now planning for the future. And there are 2 or 3 big initiatives that Concentrix is working on, if you really look at how we're planning for the future. The one big one I would want to talk about is our ability to enable work at home. Because we strongly believe that work at home is going to stay. Obviously, it's not going to stay at the levels that it is currently at, because as people get vaccinated and we are able to get to a point where it is more safe to return to work, obviously it will reduce. But in the longer term, I think we have proven to the world that Philippines does have the infrastructure and the wherewithal to be able to continue enabling work at home for the future as well. And I think there are 2 or 3 very, very critical aspects that we will collectively have to work on to be able to enable that. The first big one, I would say, is connectivity. And I'm pleased to say that the telcos within the country have taken great strides in the last 1 year to be able to deliver that right level of connectivity to a lot of our staff, so that they are enabled to seamlessly work from their home rather than coming to office. I still think the telcos will have to make a lot more investment in being able to enable that for the future. And they will have to figure out how they channelize that investment, where they were doing a lot of planning for the large offices, and how do they move that investment to people's homes, especially in the provinces. Because if you look at the metro connectivity today, I think that's come up extremely well. But if you look at the province connectivity, I think still there is a little bit of focus that is required. And the goal that we should have as a country is that, wherever you are in the country, you should have seamless internet connectivity, so that we don't have to worry about where the talent is coming from. So I think that's one part where we are working very closely with our telco providers, and making sure that enablement happens through the entire region. The second big one is how do we create a hybrid? And what I mean by the hybrid is that suppose we go and hire people who are working at home and are working in a province near Metro Manila. It's one thing to say that yes, we've set them up for success, but can we do that day in and day out with 100% resiliency? Because when you create a site where you provide BPO service, you create a very heightened level of resilience in that site. You have multiple levels of failures which are planned for. So you've got a primary line coming in for internet, and you've got a secondary line coming in, and you've got a tertiary line coming in. For power, you've got multiple levels of redundancy built in, so that if there is a power failure, then you go to a genset, and if that doesn't work, you go to an inverter, etc., etc. So with this heightened level of redundancy built into our operations, how do you build that redundancy at a person's home? That's something which we've been thinking about, and what we've come to a decision on is that we need to create a hybrid. And what I mean by hybrid here is that, okay, we talk about one province, for example, Bulacan or Cavite, which is not very close to Metro Manila, but still close. It's still outside the city, but it's still a province. Suppose we get 1,000 people who work in Bulacan, all working from home. They don't have to travel every day to Metro Manila to come and work for us. So they are comfortable, but how do we heighten their level of resilience? How about creating a small site or a community center for them in Bulacan? And why not one, maybe 2, 3, 4 community centers for them in Bulacan, which we dedicate to the communities there, where people can come in, people can use the space for joint meetings, which they can do. They can use the space for training. They can, we can set up some gardening area for them where they can do some, community activities. We can set up some classes for them where their kids can learn. And at the same time, we create a few seats in the community center where if the connectivity or the power situation in the home is a problem, they can immediately walk in or take a tricycle and just reach that community hub and then work for a few days from there or work for a day from there. Or if their computer breaks down, we can just send somebody from that community hub very quickly to the person's home, deliver a piece of peripheral, be it a connecting device or a mouse or something else that is needed. And I think that hybrid will take the resilience of our work at home staff to a completely different level. So we've already started working on this initiative. We feel that the future is hybrid, where we penetrate a lot more in work at home, but at the same time, we create an infrastructure and an environment which enables that as well in the future. Because right now, if something goes wrong, if power fluctuates in the person's house, or if they lose connectivity, they lose the full day. They lose the full day of employment. We lose productivity. It isn't sustainable in the longer term. So we create that hybrid environment for them, where if something like this happens, they can quickly go in to a small community hub which is close to their house. They can just walk in, or they can just take a tricycle, reach there, and suddenly you create this hybrid model which takes us to a completely different level. So I think that's one part which will take us to the next level, and as we are planning for the future. The other thing that we have to focus on is capability building in the Philippines. I think we've proven to the world that in the base customer service, in a lot of entry-level stuff, tech support, F&A work, HRO work, we've really proven ourselves as a region of choice. But we also have to upskill our people in being able to do more and more complex work. Because if we look at the industry today, what is happening in the industry is that, as with any other industry, there's a lot of automation which is being driven. And with automation being driven, what happens is that the base of the pyramid continues to go away. And what is left is more and more complex work. And we have to, as the region, be prepared to do a lot more complex work. And what we are seeing is a few themes of complex work that is emerging. We are seeing that the basic customer service, which is, questions like, how do I reset my password? Can you help me with a specific, order that I placed, etc. That's all evaporating, because, there's a lot of self-serve that is coming in. What is left with is a lot more complex work, which needs a lot more conversational ability, which needs an ability to understand complex situations, because, only if artificial intelligence is not able to solve that is when a human intervention is required. So we have to continuously upskill a lot of our Filipino workforce to be able to be ready for that. And we're already seeing a lot of positive outcome, because one, people are already learning, the industry is maturing. We as a workforce are constantly evolving over the years, over the last 15-20 years, since the time Philippines has been operating for this industry. But we also have to make some strategic investments for the future. It is critical that we make those investments now to be able to be as successful as we are now in 2025 and beyond as well. And that is where we are investing a lot on capability building for our staff. We've launched multiple initiatives. One of them is Career Navigator, which is an initiative which actually helps people get upskilled on more complex tasks for the future. So you can enroll, it's like an in-house Concentrix University. You enroll in that, and what you can do as you enroll into an initiative like that is that it throws it. So you first go through an assessment to understand what is your skill level today. And then it throws at you, bases your skill level, what is it that you can upskill on. So for example, if I'm doing a base customer service job, it throws at me that, okay, do you want to get yourself prepared for a complex customer service job or a complex tech support job? And then I choose my career path. I say, okay, I want to go for complex tech support. When I choose the career path, it gives me self-paced online trainings to say, okay, if you go through these 5 trainings, you can be ready for a complex tech support job for the future. And once I complete that, then I get into the queue that when the next job opens for a complex tech support work, I automatically get moved there. And by the way, because it's a more complex job, maybe I start making 20% more than what I was making in the past, and so on and so forth. So once you do that job, do you want to become a team leader? Do you want to become an ops manager? And so on and so forth. So you keep growing your career and keep upskilling yourself through the course. And this, I think, not just from a career path perspective, but specific skills perspective. How do we get deeper into areas like banking, healthcare? How do we get deeper into these areas? And that is where I think we as an organization and industry in general will have to put a lot of effort and investment for the future, because Philippines is extremely successful today. But if we have to be successful in 2025 and beyond, we have to start planning for it now. And the industry generally should come together and start focusing on this deep domain building for its staff for the future. So I think that's the other area which is very, very critical for us as Concentrix. And we are now looking at how we can partner as an industry as well to be able to create value for Philippines in the future.